remove the soil from your carpet. All of our furniture cleaning is done by hand in your home or in our plant. Carpet Masters also offers dry cleaning for fine furniture. Call Carpet Masters at 793-7215. That's 793-7215 for Carpet Masters.
You're listening to an encore presentation of this program. KCAA, the Inland Talk Express.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant Chad Bianco.
Good morning, everyone in the Inland Empire. What a beautiful morning today. Southern California weather, you can't beat this. I'd like to welcome everyone out there to our first of hopefully many shows on KCAA radio. We are going to be, I am Chad Bianco, Lieutenant Chad Bianco, and our show here, Lieutenant Chad Bianco and the Law in Riverside County. We are going to be here every Saturday from 10 to 11, and hopefully we can engage you, Riverside County listeners, about law enforcement, about issues going on in our community. And fortunately we have, or fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you want to look at it, we definitely have a major event coming up in Riverside County, and that would be the sheriff's election. We have a primary election coming up in June, and the sheriff's election, the #1 law enforcement officer in the county, is up for, we'll say, re-election of the current sheriff. But what's going to happen is with me running to be your next sheriff, we will hopefully be successful and making some major difference and some major changes in Riverside County law enforcement, and should be interesting. It's we're less than 60 days away. I think we're really around 40 days, something like that. In here today with me, I have Victor C. As my guest here. Welcome, Victor.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're normally for the podcast, for future podcast viewing, we will have we'll have different guests come on with me. Today we're going to start basically with an outline of what we're going for the rest of the several weeks leading up to the election, and then hopefully we will continue this radio show afterward as we engage the community in law enforcement. We want to involve everyone in this process and making a difference in law enforcement. As most of you all know, law enforcement, we don't have a crystal ball that we can come up with and figure out things that are going on in the community, and we need law enforcement support from our public, but we also need involvement from the public. So one of the major issues that I'm bringing to the table for this election is the starting a philosophy, engaging in a philosophy of community-oriented policing with Riverside County law enforcement. So throughout the next several weeks, I'm going to have guests on. We're going to talk about different aspects of Riverside County law enforcement. Today with Victor C. As my first guest. Normally we will be on air. Anyone that wants to come on the show, be more than happy to have you, and we can sit here in studio and discuss law enforcement. But for today's inaugural show, we're both sitting here talking about some issues with Riverside County, but we have some serious issues with our current sheriff that involve retaliation and punishment within our department for speaking up and doing the right thing. And as silly as it may sound, we have a sheriff that engages in some serious monitoring of social media and punishes people for we're all grown men and women in this department, and apparently we can't have our own opinions when it comes to social media and who we like and who we dislike on social media. So today, to avoid any future retaliation and punishment for a great man, Victor C. is going to remain off camera, but so we can protect his identity as we discuss these things, and not anything that you say protect the identity, and makes it sound like you're a bad guy or something, but
Yeah, no, I'm not a bad guy.
and there you go. No, nothing like that. It's seriously a self-preservation thing, and I feel I'm grateful that that he's willing to come on and talk about our issues that we have in the department and with law enforcement, and basically I mean, we have a serious problem in our department with a morale issue, and largely it's because of a lack of leadership in the department. And when employees are punished for speaking their mind or for having an opinion that may be different from a current politician, it leads to some serious morale issues in the department. And while I love that Victor's out here with me and doing this, I also feel like I need to protect him and make it so he's not suffering some workplace harassment issues from supervisors that I've experienced in the past. I certainly don't want that coming from everyone else. So, Victor, I appreciate you coming on here and helping out today, and as we work our way through this first show.
Yeah, congratulations and welcome. And I know we talked about how, this is your show, but however, I feel like I need to interview you. I want to know what's up with you, who you are.
That's good. That's good. We could probably do that. We've got an hour here. It's our show. It's my show. We can do whatever we want. We could go back in the beginning. Obviously, I'm a lieutenant with the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, and I've been here for 24. We're coming really up close on 25 years now.
So you're a rookie.
I'm a rookie.
Okay.
I'm a rookie. Every day is different, and so I'm a rookie every day. No, I've got a lot of experience in the department, and obviously moved up through the ranks. This is my only desire was to work for the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, and after I put myself through the academy, I went through San Bernardino Sheriff's Academy, and applied with Riverside, and they picked me up shortly after the academy ended.
Are you a Riverside local, or?
I am a Riverside local. I live in the Woodcrest area of Riverside, so I'm up in the rural part up by Lake Matthews. Initially, though, I'm a transplant. I came from Utah. I grew up in Utah. Utah. That's funny. That's my wife and I say that. That's we didn't know anybody else would say that. That's pretty funny. I'm sure she's out there listening. She's going to get a crack up out of that. But I am from Utah. We moved out here in 1989. Raised all my kids here. We've got 4 kids. They're all adults. So right now it's just me and my wife, and this current seeking of sheriff in Riverside County. I did run in 2014 and I lost, unfortunately, and so we still are experiencing the same type of issues that we had before. Nothing's really changed, and actually it's gotten quite worse for us as a department. And so about the middle of last year, I was approached by the Deputies Association, and they asked if I would run again. And it was a humbling, honoring experience, being asked to run by the employees, and them looking up to me to lead this department. And I decided yes.
It's kind of an honor to get asked a second time.
It is. It very was much an honor, and it was very humbling, and it was. I look at the issues that we have in our department. Sometimes people in the public don't really care about internal issues, but they go to work and do your job and everything will be fine. But the reality is in law enforcement, we're a huge agency, 4,000 employees. We've got half of that is law enforcement between correctional deputies and between sworn deputies who are out in patrol. And so when you have internal issues where morale is horrible and people are leaving our agency left and right. I mean, we're getting killed.
We're losing people left and right all the time. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, being an employee, we see all of our friends and our coworkers that are all going to other agencies, and sometimes it looks appealing, but then you think, I can make a difference here. I want to stay and I want to make a difference, and really that's what this is. I'm a Riverside County Sheriff guy, and that's all I've ever been, and I love this. I mean, this is our department.
Is this what you've always wanted to be? You wanted to be a law enforcement officer? Do you have family in law enforcement, or how did you end up being a law enforcement officer?
I do not have law enforcement family. My dad was a coal miner, and we were a very small town in Utah. You either worked for the coal mines or you worked for the power company. That was it. And there was no interest in being in law enforcement. I had growing up, I was an outdoor type of a guy. I was into the hunting, the fishing, that type of lifestyle growing up in a different place, in a different state. And I did think about being a fish and game guy. I wanted to be a game warden. So initially when I started college, that's what I was going for, but I don't know why I changed that. And then I came to California. I don't know why that went away, but I moved to California, and that really wasn't an option here. I couldn't find that those positions were. I mean, we obviously have them here, but it wasn't predominant like it is back there. It wasn't as big as it is, yeah. Right. So, I worked here some various construction jobs, and I worked for an auto dealership here in the service department for a couple of years, and then, law enforcement was in the back of my head, and I ended up putting myself through the academy. Probably my law enforcement interest, I was a youngster. I was 16, probably 16, 17 years old. I might have been 17. Had a little encounter with a highway patrolman, and it wasn't for speeding. It was actually I did something wrong, and so he spent a lot of time with me, and he could have just given me a ticket, and I could have been on my way and taken care of that through the court system and everything else. But he spent probably 15, 20 minutes with me, explaining the error of my ways. And he knew me from athletics. It was a small town, it was a small community, and it was very sports oriented. And I was known throughout the community for baseball, for playing baseball. And so he knew who I was when he encountered me. And he talked to me about making right choices. And I was at a path at my age where I was at a fork. I was either going to go downhill, or I could move toward adulthood and making the right decisions. The funny thing is it's the same thing that my parents had told me my entire life. I mean, my dad said that same thing.
But coming from a different person, it's completely different.
That's right, and it was from a law enforcement officer, and back then, and I don't know. Well, we both know that it was certainly a different time in law enforcement with the respect for law enforcement that we got from the public. But even back then, I don't know if it was an adult or the how I was raised to the respect for law enforcement. But he was an influential person, an important person of authority, and so him talking to me like that, it made an impression on me. I could have been bitter and the guy gave me a ticket and all that stuff.
But no, he actually took the time, stopped, talked to you. Scolded you, right?
He did, but he did it in a very professional, calm manner. I mean, I can't really describe it, but it did stick with me big time. And in my career in law enforcement, I carry that into how I deal with teenagers and with younger adults. I mean, sometimes you even have to do it with older adults. But
talk to them like they're kids.
That's right. So he made a vast impact on my life, or a major impact on my life. And throughout my career here with the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, I've tried to do that with kids that I've come across. And I explained to them, look, these are your choices. You can grow up. You can try and have. If you think you're having fun, you're going down this path where it's going to be disastrous for you, or you can grow up and move toward a more responsible place. And I know there is someone out there like me that I've influenced, and either he or she, because we come across boys and girls.
And that's what I was going to tell you. Is sometimes that we go out on calls left and right, and we talk to people left and right, and we really don't ever see the magnitude of the type of influence that we have on people, whether good or bad. And most of the time we see all the bad stuff because everybody's posting the bad stuff. Everybody's showing the cops doing bad stuff and how they take people to jail, and you have a negative impact on families. However, there's a ton of people who have really good contacts with law enforcement, and there's very few who actually make those comments and appreciate us for what we really do.
That's very true. That's very true. We get social media is not going to report all of the accolades that we get from the people that we help and the good things that we do. We're only going to get blasted with all of the negativity, and really sometimes it doesn't even have to be us. It could be from somewhere else in the country, and because we're in law enforcement, we're going to get blasted with that or labeled as that. And but for the most part, people respect law enforcement, and the residents of Riverside County really do like their sheriff's department, and we do like providing them with a good service, and we always wish we could do better, which is kind of the purpose of this election. Is I believe that we should and could be doing a lot better and things a little bit different, and engaging the community a lot more to get a more personal relationship with the people that we're out there helping and the people that we're out there serving.
And then you were talking about morale, and I believe that sometimes morale is low, and when you go out and you have this really negative feeling about what you're doing, and just this negative feeling, and you go out and you try to handle calls and you try to serve the public, it's very hard to be positive with other people when you're. So everybody says, like, there's the example of the guy gets yelled at work, he gets mad, he drives home, he yells at his wife yells at the child, and the child kicks the dog.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and that's the little microcosm of a bigger morale issue at the sheriff's department. And I've mentioned this to people when I'm out talking now on this campaign trail, is the last thing you want is a disgruntled cop coming out to help you. I mean, whether it be coming out to help you at your home, or help you at your business, or even if you get pulled over. I mean, it's much better if that cop is enjoying his job, and he likes what he's doing and is engaging the community. Now you can't change the fact that you ran that stop sign, or you were speeding, and he didn't just pull you over for nothing.
Right.
So if he's in a good mood, I mean, the encounter goes well. It's it's a business transaction. It's not anything personal.
Right.
But if they're not loving their job, and if they're not liking being there, then just like you just said, it just rolls downhill.
Right.
And that's the issue that we have right now in the department. And election-wise, for Riverside County voters, this is something that everyone needs to take notice of, because the morale in our department is not good at all. And in my 25 years, this is by far the lowest I've ever seen it. We briefly discussed all of our coworkers and our peers leaving.
Right.
We're losing average. There's different numbers that obviously every month is different. Sometimes every 2 weeks there's nothing, but on an average it's about 30 deputies that are leaving the department to go somewhere else, and that's really not sustainable when we've got 1,500 to 1,600 deputies right now.
And then you said 30. Is that a monthly, or is that
30 a month on average? Now some obviously less, some a little bit more, but on average we're around 30 a month.
That's almost a complete station.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. There's we look at, take for instance the Hemet station right now. We have less deputies than that at the Hemet station. So you're losing an entire station a month.
Yeah.
Now some are a little bit bigger than that, obviously, and you take that into account. But just for an overall view, that's a big number.
And when you were talking about losing deputies, and you go out and, for example, Hemet, you have such a big area to patrol, and you go out on a call, and instead of having your mind set up where I need to handle this call, this is what I'm going to, this is what I need to deal with, and this is how I'm going to deal with it, in the back of your mind you're thinking, my next backup is 45 minutes away. What happens if I get in trouble? And so your mind is somewhere else,
right,
instead of where you're going.
Yeah, and for the listeners out there, Victor brought up the station of Hemet. That's where I work. I'm currently assigned to the Hemet station, so I have a very good idea of what's going on there with personnel and how we should be doing things different. But right now the current sheriff has allowed staffing to go down to next to nothing. And when you talk about morale, when the deputies aren't being encouraged to go out there and do the right thing and really enforce the law and do what they're supposed to be doing, they're not being empowered to go out there and make a difference. They're in the back of their head. They don't feel like the administration is supporting them and behind them. And then when they're by themselves in that large of an area, that does have to play in your head. So that all of those morale issues, all of those issues lead to morale, and it goes downhill, and you're not getting the residents of our county areas are not getting the service they deserve because the department in general is not being led in a mission of making sure that all of our areas that we have to cover are being taken care of like they should, for lack of better terms. And we have some places that you can't deny that we have a personnel problem. Everybody's leaving our department. We're not hiring anyone, so our staffing levels are very, very, very low. So we need to stop the people from leaving. We need to encourage people to lateral into our agency, and we need to do better as a department of equaling out the effort that we have to put forward to manage the lack of staffing. So the Hemet station, we are seriously being hurt there with the lack of staffing, and it's not fair to those deputies when other deputies in the department may not be as low staffed.
Right.
So
and it's kind of a double-edged sword there, because you have the low morale because of working, because you're going out by yourself, and then you show up to these calls an hour, 2 hours later, and then you get complained because, hey, it took you so long, and now you're talking to somebody who might have not been as negative with you as if you would have showed up within 10, 15 minutes. Now they're pissed off at you because you never made it there on time. Right.
Absolutely. And it's everything leads to that horrible morale.
Yeah.
It's there are many issues in the department right now, and we're going to be discussing these over the next several weeks leading up to this election. For all of you, the listeners out there, all of our KCAA listeners, please get involved with this election season, and you need to keep up to date and keep informed about the issues that are going on in the county, the issues that are going on with the sheriff's department, because we have many that are affecting you personally. Within the sheriff's department, you cannot deny that we have a budget problem. You cannot deny that the county of Riverside is in a budget problem. But what we have going on now is that nobody's working together to fix those problems. We need to open the jail in Indio, and right now the sheriff's threatening to not open that jail, saying that he's going to leave that open, and he's blaming it on staffing, and he's blaming it on the Board of Supervisors. So we in the department, we hear all of that, and we know that's not necessarily true. We know that jail's going to open, and we know that they're just going to slide all the inmates and the employees from the old jail into that brand new jail, and then that old one's getting demolished. So, but we hear that, and we know it's not true, and then that again decreases the morale that we have going on. Right. So we do have budget issues, but those budget issues are also causing morale issues because how it's being dealt with. Rather than work at that and fix what we have, I tell everyone that that asks about this, what are you going to do about the budget? And I said, well, I'm not going to deny that we're in a budget crisis. But what I'm going to do is we're going to work within what we have. We're going to do things different. We're going to change things up. We're going to do things a little bit different rather than say, there's nothing I can do because you won't give me money and you won't let me hire anybody, which the current sheriff is doing with the Board of Supervisors right now. So the issues within the department, number one, are our budget, and we do have personnel issues that are a lack of personnel. But number two, we have the type of policing that we do for our residents is very much reactive in nature, and we have two different types of policing. We have reactive, or we have proactive law enforcement. Mm-hmm. And as law enforcement professionals, we like the proactive a whole lot better than we do the reactive. Correct. That's what we signed up for, and that's what we believe works. And we know that in our own daily operations, if we were proactive, we know that that's how things get done. And we have for instance, within the department we have traffic. Some of our contract cities have traffic enforcement. Right. So traffic enforcement is ultimately, in my opinion, it's reactive. You're reacting to something, but you're proactive in fixing it. Yeah. So, for instance, you're reacting to to issues where, say, you get a call from a school that the stop signs are being, run, or speeding through the school zones.
Or the big one is where they drop off their kids in the middle of the street.
That's right.
That's
so you have an issue, you identify an issue, and then you're proactive in solving that issue. So we send our traffic guys out, and they are proactive in enforcing the law, and they stop those people that are doing that, and they may issue citations, they may not, but ultimately that problem gets fixed because you attacked it. So that's proactive policing. And we know that it works, and that encourages you to like your job also.
And then the more that you're out there, the more visible you are, and the more, and it's funny because the more people see you out there, the more likely they're not going to commit that crime because they know you're there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So within the department, we have a budget problem. We have a reactive problem. Reactive policing has never worked in the history of law enforcement, and it doesn't work today. We're currently engaged in reactive policing, and reactive policing will not work in the future. And there is no one that says reactive policing is going to work in the future. We have to be proactive if we want to fix our issues.
And reactive policing is basically you respond to a call. A call is generated for you to go.
Yes, that absolutely right. We sit in our cars, and someone calls 911, and then we go out and we try and help them as best we can with something that's already happened.
It's already happened.
Yeah, it's after the fact. So we're going there to clean up whatever it was that happened before, and we try and give them provide them a good service and make them happy, but then we just move on to the next call that has already happened.
Oh, it's already happened.
We're not doing what I don't believe we're doing what we should to provide a proactive enforcement in the county to address quality of life issues. And basically, law enforcement, that's what we do. We enforce the law, but in our communities, we have quality of life issues that affect how we live in our neighborhood. And those quality of life issues obviously are crime. Crime is a big driver of the quality of life issues in your neighborhood or in your place of work.
Right.
So we have we've got homeless issues, we've got drug issues, we've got gang issues. There's all these different issues, I guess you could call them, that are breaking the law, that are causing law problems, but they affect everyone's quality of life.
Right.
So if we identify quality of life issues and then we attack those issues, that is what law enforcement should be. That's how we provide a good service to the community. And that's one of the things that I don't believe we're doing enough of right now, and that under my leadership in the Sheriff's Department, we will provide that service. We will change the culture of our department in how we handle those crimes and how we handle those issues for quality of life issues for the community, and make them like being at home. Make them
make them feel comfortable. This is where we live. This is where we chose to live. And so we want to be safe in our homes.
Absolutely. So for everybody out there listening to KCAA Radio, we're talking here about the law in Riverside County, the future of Riverside County law enforcement, and particularly the election that's coming up in June. And myself, me, however you want to refer to me, I am running for sheriff in Riverside County, and I am looking forward to being able to make a lot of changes within our department and within our community to provide a better service. We've run down a path with the current sheriff. He's been in there. I won't put you on the spot right here. I'll say it for you, but he's been in there too long. I think 10 years ago when he became the sheriff, I think there was a lot of us in law enforcement that believed he was going to make a difference, that believed he was going to be a good leader for our department. We were looking forward to some positive changes, that some things had gone wrong recently in our department, and we really were looking for him to make it better for us. And unfortunately, he's had 10 years, and really it's just gotten worse. We have the same or more issues than we did back when, and we've got to start putting our job and our profession and our service above ourselves. And this is about us providing a service to the county of Riverside, to the residents of Riverside. And it's as law enforcement, we go to work every day. We leave our families. We go to work every day, and we know that there's that potential that we might have to put our body or our life on the line for someone else that usually we don't even
Every
know,
day.
and we don't even know those people.
Right.
So we are putting ourselves, service to them, we are putting it above ourselves.
Right.
You know, I would much, you know, if you write it down on paper, I'd rather be at home with my wife and kids and make sure that I come home to them and am able to provide them and be with them and as we all get old. But the reality is we chose this profession because we do put our own personal lives,
Put it aside to help somebody else.
That's right. So we, with that in our heart, that's how we have to provide service to the county. And as the leader of our sheriff's department, that's what I will bring. That's what I will encourage. That's what I will empower the deputies to do again. And currently, you know, in the last 10 years, we thought things were going to be different, and they've just gone downhill. And throughout the department, there is the pervasive feeling that we are just we're just pawns in a political game for the current sheriff to be elected again. And, you know, he threatens the board of supervisors. Everything. It's almost like, you know, if you put it on paper and read it, it's almost extortion. You know, he's threatening to close stations, lay us off, you know, do all of these horrible things that scares the public. And he's telling the board of supervisors that all of these things are going to happen unless they give him more money. And in the end, they have to decide if they're going to give in to that. They don't believe he's being honest with them, but then they're elected officials too, so they've got to play the politics. And all of our safety, the deputy safety and the public safety as well, is being put second fiddle to politics. And politics, we need to get politics out of law enforcement. We should be here concerned only with the safety of our communities, the safety of our residents, the safety of our officers, and our political ambitions and our political positions should not be involved in it. And you know, that's what we come to work for every day and hope for. And
we want to come in and make a change.
That's right. That's right. And you know, what I will do different for this department is provide the leadership to allow all of our deputies and we've got great deputies. I mean, we've got some great employees in this department. And for any of you out there, I'm sure you're listening. You all have, well, not everybody, but you've all had leaders in your life, bosses, parents, whatever the case may be. And how many of you out there run into a situation at work and say, man, I'm glad we've got a micromanager as a boss today, and that micromanagement is working out great for us. And nobody's ever going to say that. And no one would say that that's how you have to run an organization, especially a large one. You can't micromanage a large organization. And unfortunately, with failed leadership, that's what you get a lot of micromanagement. And when you have law enforcement officers that are being micromanaged, you're taking away that ambition for them to go out and make a difference. Because if you're micromanaging them and you're second guessing all of their decisions, they don't want to make them anymore. And really, we're told, we're sent out in that black and white car, and we're told, go make a difference. You know, go make a difference in the lives of the people that you're going to contact, and do something good. And then when you second guess it and you're not empowering to do that anymore, that's why we run into some of the morale problems that we have now, and the failure to act, and
You're basically told, as you go and you push a black and white, you get behind your car, that's your office, that's your space. You go out and handle a call the way you're going to handle it. But exactly like you said, if you're micromanaged, you're kind of limited to, you can't think outside the box.
Right.
You can't not every call gets to be handled the same way every time, everywhere.
That's exactly right. And, you know, thinking outside the box, that's what we get paid for. Because every personality is different that we deal with. We've come across some, you know, we handle the same calls every day, the same types, but because they're different people, every call's different.
Absolutely.
Every call's different. The personalities are different that we have to deal with. And we have to encourage and empower the deputies that are out handling these calls to be able to sift through these situations and make decisions based on what's happening at the time, and allow them to make those decisions, and then do those decisions, follow through on those decisions, and then they're backed by their supervisors. And there may be things that you do wrong or that could have been done better, but you address those in training later. And if you caused a problem, you fix it, obviously, but then you address issues that, and that's how we function, and that's how we learn, that's how we grow, and that's leadership 101. Leadership 101 is you empower somebody to do something. You give them the tools, you give them the space to do it, and you allow them that process, and in return you back their play, and you follow up and you make sure they're doing the right thing, but they're rewarded for it, they're congratulated for it, whatever it is. Pat on the back goes a long way in our department.
Absolutely.
You go out and you do a nice job, and I mean, we don't have to get monetary rewards or a trophy or anything like that. A pat on the back and someone saying,
simple, hey, you did a great job today. I really appreciate what you did out
that's
there.
right. So internally, leadership is what runs large organizations. It's not micromanagement. So that's what I will bring to this department. That's what I will bring to us as employees, and to you as an employee. That things will be different. Things will change, and my personal agenda, my personal political views, or how I feel that something politically is going to affect my campaign or my future campaign, is not going to come into any decision making in our department, and I don't think it should. So I really do bring a complete opposite approach to law enforcement, an approach to this department than the current sheriff. You can correct me if I'm wrong, and it's on live radio, so if you correct me, that's okay. I need to know that, but I really do believe that the way we need a 180-degree change in our department, and we aren't going to get that with the current sheriff. We've been led down a path for 10 years, and we're sinking. We've got a ship that's sinking, and we need to plug the holes, and we need to head back to the surface and make sure that we don't ever take on water again.
Right.
And that's what I'm looking at. So over these next several weeks, we'll be talking about different issues in our department. Today, it seems like we're just kind of going with the flow, and it's a little bit about. It seems like it's coming more about morale in the department.
Right.
We're talking about how we do business, and what's going on with morale, and how we're not doing maybe the things that we should be doing, and to retain our employees. I know I don't know the station that you're at. I don't know if you may have a lot of the employees that you work with, your coworkers, your peers. There's one issue that I have that I know causes a lot of morale problems, and we're a big department, and we have stations all throughout Riverside County, and we have employees that obviously live in various locations in this county,
Right.
and we can't make everyone happy. I mean, we can't, everyone can't work right next door to your station.
No.
But because we are so big, and because we have so many employees, we should be doing better at getting, people closer to home. There's nothing worse than a Southern California commute.
Right.
And I've got a couple of employees that have contacted me, and one works in the desert and lives out here, the desert meaning Palm Springs area, Coachella area, and he lives out here on the west end in the Riverside area.
That's an hour and 20-minute drive.
Yeah. And then I'm contacted by both of them, because the other employee is the exactly opposite. He's working out there, and he lives here. So these two employees are passing each other on the freeway, commuting opposite directions of each other, and they both want to transfer. They want to be closer to home, and the department won't do it. And there's no reason given ever. And our sheriff's administration has taken the position of we're not in the business of making people happy. And one of our captains out in the desert told his briefing, if you guys don't like it, go somewhere else. And the problem is they are.
They are. Yeah.
I mean, we're leaving. Our employees are leaving left and right. So when you have simple solutions that you could make people happy, and you choose not to, and really it's just a choice not to. It'd be very easy to swap those two employees. They're the same rank, the same position in the department, and then you get two happy employees at work.
Right.
And a happy employee is a more productive employee. And instead, you have two slightly disgruntled employees because they're spending an hour and a half on the road, and then an hour and a half
becomes a safety
back.
issue, especially on those days where you hold over 4 or 5 hours, or you get a call and you're working almost 16 hours a day, and then you're trying to go home after a long shift.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
Yeah.
And you know, you work now. You're at 16, sometimes more, and you know we could work 16-hour shift,
Right.
and then you've got an hour and a half drive home. So you've been up for a long time, and you've got a commute in traffic, which leads to accidents and falling asleep and everything else.
Yeah.
So it certainly is a safety issue, and not only that, but I mean, we all in law enforcement. Now, I've been in it long enough that my kids are grown and my kids are away now. They're adults, but for the most part, you know, I work with people with young kids, with high school kids, elementary kids, and they want to spend time with their kids. They want to spend time with their family. And when you have a total 3-hour commute, that's a little
takes
rough.
a long time away from your family.
That's right. So little issues like that, where we could make employees happy, to keep them comfortable at work, to keep them safe at work, to keep them happy in their jobs. You know, I'll throw this out, you know, right now, and he's talked to me about it, and he's told me this. You know, we have a supervisor at my station that next week is his last day, and he's been we work in Hemet, and he has been trying to get closer to Temecula for the last 8 years. He has been requesting transfer to to that area for the last 8 years. He doesn't care if it's like Elsinore, Wildemar, Temecula, the jail, the court,
Somewhere out there.
anything to stop him from driving to Hemet, because he just wants to spend more time with his kids as they're growing up. They're big time into baseball. His kids are, and he's got his youngest son now that I believe he's a junior, or you know, he may become. I think he's a junior, but he's a good baseball player. And his dad just wants to watch him. He doesn't want to miss any games. And if he didn't have that commute, he could make it to these games, and he could make it to practices. And so he's been begging for a transfer, always denied. And then finally he said, look, if you're not going to give me a transfer, I'm just going to quit. And the answer was, okay. And so he's retiring. He's retiring early. He doesn't want to retire. Right. And he said he would stay on if they just would have transferred him closer to home. And he's a very well-respected supervisor in our department. So instead, he's going to retire. Him and his wife will make it work. They said they'll have to make some concessions, but their family is more important than how they feel he's not valued at work.
Yeah.
And
I know that there's a lot of people who flip the coin on us. They tell us, "Oh, well, this is a profession you chose. You're going to work. You're going to work weekends. You're going to work nights. You're going to work holidays. That's what you chose. That's your fault."
Mm-hmm.
But when you work for a department, you want to be backed by your department, and you want to be able to be happy at work.
Right.
And I love what I do. I do. And I love coming to work. But, you know, when you have certain things with your family comes first before work.
yeah.
And so you're exactly right. Sometimes you're going to have to say, you know what, my job, you know, it's not as important as my family.
Yeah, absolutely. And you make that tough call, and then you move on.
Yeah.
And what we're finding right now is a lot of them are retiring early. A lot of our employees are retiring early, or they're going to another agency, and they're going to places where they have friends that work. We associate with the same people. We train with them. We work with them, coworkers, and
Right.
some of them were in our academies that are now working at other agencies. And when you find that they don't have the same internal issues that we have here, it makes it attractive. It's like, well, wait a minute, I can work for them. Now I can be closer to home. And not only that, they don't have all of these internal issues going on that's going to make my work stay a little bit more pleasant. And we're losing them to these agencies, so it's unfortunate. So while we're again we're talking about the sheriff's department, and we're talking about law enforcement in Riverside County, And today we're talking really about morale issues. Now, ultimately, this radio show is about Riverside County law enforcement, and it's about the type of service we provide, and we want to talk about the issues that the community is seeing and what they feel is important, crime rates, and the problems that they have, and how we can address that. But ultimately, what I want to accomplish with this show in the short term is bringing these issues to the forefront so people can make an informed decision on this election that's coming up. June 5th, is the election primary election for 2018. And on everyone's ballot in Riverside County is going to be the position of sheriff. And you're going to have to make a choice of who you want to lead our next department.
I'm just curious, how many people are running for the title sheriff?
Right now there's four. We have the current sheriff is running.
Re-election?
Running for re-election. You have me, of course, the best choice, obviously, and this is my show, I can say that. And then we have a retired chief from the city of Hemet. And then most recently, within the last couple of months, we had one of our employees, one of our co-workers, a deputy sheriff, decide that he was going to run also. So that kind of highlights a little bit right there in itself. You have obviously me wanting to make a difference, a manager in our department that feels, I really do feel that I'm tapped out with what I'm able to do in the department. I can only influence a small portion of our department, and in order to make grand changes and make things better, you've got to be the sheriff. So really, that's what my goal is not to be the sheriff. It's to be that person in charge to affect all these changes. That's what I'm hoping for. And then you have a retired chief of police from the city of Hemet, and then you have the deputy. But what I meant to say, I got a little sidetracked there. Which I do that.
Squirrel?
Yeah, exactly. I do that often. Luckily, I've got you here, and sometimes you can rein me back in, wave your hands, and do whatever it is to get me back in. But that highlights the fact that we've got some major issues here, and things aren't rosy in the sheriff's department. One of our local board of supervisors made a statement to a group meeting that he was conducting, and he said that this election is going to be the most important election for the office of sheriff in the history of Riverside County. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
That's a big deal. That's not going out and saying, a bunch of good guys running for sheriff, and whoever, we're all good and everything's fine. He realizes and he knows, and what he's doing is he's telling everybody else out there that law enforcement needs to change. And if we want that change, we've got to elect somebody else as sheriff. So really, if you really want to get down to it, this is my personal opinion. I'm not going to hold you to this. But while I am going to say that I am the best choice, and the endorsements that I have, I'm endorsed by the Deputies Association. I'm endorsed by and supported by the majority of Southern California law enforcement, including our two biggest agencies, Riverside Police Department and Corona Police Department. They've endorsed me. Obviously, the sheriff's deputies are the largest agency and the largest endorsement and the most important. They're picking me to be their leader. They're looking at me to lead this department through change. But because you have a retired chief of police, and two people internally running, and you have a board of supervisors saying this is a huge issue, we need to make change. Staying with the current sheriff is not going to be the answer that anyone's looking for.
I've always been told that you can't have change if you don't do anything different.
Right. What's that? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Something
that's right, and expect a different result. And that's what we're doing. I mean, every year we say, give us more money so we can hire more people. Give us more money so we can hire more people. And then you blame that on your failure. So, yeah, we can't help you. We're not providing you a better service. Crime rate's going up. We're not providing you the response times that you hope for, and that's another show in itself that we're going to talk about response times and reactive policing. But we are in a crisis situation in this department that we need to make a change. And going with the current sheriff and what he's done for the last 10 years and his lack of vision, lack of mission, lack of direction, if we don't get rid of that person, we're going to be in the same spot again next year.
Yeah. And before we go, we still have a couple minutes, but I also want to give out the numbers. So if people later on, because you're going to have this show for quite a couple weeks,
right,
or several weeks.
We're hoping we're on air for the next couple of months minimum. And what I'm really hoping to do after I become the sheriff is make this more of an official Riverside Sheriff's Department type of a show. Nice. To where we incorporate the public, and I want people to call in and I want them to ask me the tough questions.
All right, so we're going to give that number real quick. It's 888-909-1050. That's the phone number for us here.
That's
and
right.
They can call anytime during our show. So we're here from.
We're here. This is Saturday morning, every Saturday morning from 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock in the morning. And I encourage all of your participation and your questions. Again, we're going to throw that out there, 888-909-1050, KCAA radio, AM 1050. And then we've also got two FM channels that we're covering. But AM 1050, I just like saying AM 1050 Talk Radio. But
it's not a police code, it's a radio.
That's exactly right, but it sounds good saying it. But also, I want to encourage everybody to look into this election, look into me, look into what I stand for. You can find a lot of information at ChadBiancoForSheriff.com and also on my Facebook page, Chad Bianco for Sheriff 2018. And I encourage you all to email me if you have any questions or topics you want covered on the show. And if you want to be a guest, go ahead and email me that too, and we can make the arrangements, some contact, and we can get you on air here, and we can talk about the law in Riverside County and how we need to make a difference. Again, I am Chad Bianco, and I'm running for the office of sheriff of Riverside County 2018 elections. The election's June 5th. Everybody needs to make sure you're registered to vote and you get out there and vote. We're coming up quick. We have talked already. There's 4 people running for the office here, and if I don't get 50% plus 1 of the vote, which we're really shooting for and which we're hoping for on June 5th, then the top 2 contenders go to the primary election in November.
So you need 50.
50%. 50% plus 1. You got to have 1 more vote on top of the 50%. So you get that 1 vote over the majority, and that causes you to have the majority, and then it's over. So vote June 5th.
June 5th.
June 5th. June 5th.
Cinco de Junio.
There you go. We're going to be beating that into people's heads. We're not literally going to be beating in people's heads, but we're going to try and say that enough that everyone gets out and vote on June 5th, because a lot of times you hear the primary's over and it's over. The sheriff's election in Riverside County typically ends on June 5th, or in that June election primary, and then everybody's looking for the November and it's not there. It ended. So it's super important that you get out and vote on June 5th. Be involved, be informed. More importantly, I want everybody to be informed before you just go out and vote. Don't vote for incumbent just because incumbent is in there and you think that nothing negative is going on and everything seems to be going fine, because really it isn't. Our law enforcement in Riverside County is in crisis. Our largest agency is in crisis, and we need a change to make a difference, and I'm offering that change. Chad Bianco for Sheriff 2018, June 5th, primary election. We need
Cinco de Junio.
Absolutely. We need to get everybody out to vote. Anything else before we get off here, close, and move on to next week? Again, this was our inaugural show. We came on with no real. We didn't want to be structured and bore people. Kind of just get a little feel for the studio and what we're going to go. We knew going in we're going to talk a little bit mostly about morale and a little bit about me, personally.
A little bit. Yeah. So remember, just the phone number is 888-909-1050. Please call us. We'll be for the next show, 10 to 11 o'clock in the morning, on 10:50 a.m.
Absolutely. Saturday mornings, 10 to 11. Reach out, BiancoForSheriff.com, ChadBiancoForSheriff.com. You can email me through the website, or you can BiancoForSheriff@gmail, and topics. We'll talk about anything you want. We'll address your concerns. You can also call in 888-909-1050. Again, I'm Chad Bianco, Lieutenant Chad Bianco in the law in Riverside County, and I want to thank Victor C. for coming on the air with me today.
Thank you for having me.
And you're more than welcome to come back anytime you want, and we'll be a little more comfortable and lively, and we may even tell a few jokes here and there. Who knows? But in all seriousness, it's about the sheriff's election in June 5th, 2018, and I'm looking for your support, and I'm looking for your vote, and I need you to spread the word about the election and about this show. And we appreciate everything you guys are doing for sheriff's deputies and the Riverside County Sheriff's Department, and look forward to another show next week.
Thank you, guys. Have a good morning.
All right.
You've been listening to Lieutenant Chad Bianco and the law in Riverside County on this radio station. Join us every week at this time, or log on to KCAAradio.com to listen to more of Lieutenant Chad Bianco. Or join us again next week at this same time for more of Lieutenant Chad Bianco and the law in Riverside County.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
Your NBC Sports Radio update starts now.
The March of the Penguins continues. I'm Jeff Nathanson. On this Sunday, the Pittsburgh Penguins of the NHL have just defeated the Philadelphia